The gang were startled by the noise of knocking, so they looked at the bus doors. There was someone at the front door. It wasn't a zombie by the looks of it. There was a doctor there, and he had some soldiers behind him. To their surprise, they were alive, and neither of them had been bitten. So the gang and the Hex Girls were confused as to who they were, and where did they have come from. "Who are you?" Fred asked. "We're glad you found us, but where did you all come from?" "Haven't you heard of all the rumors? We are from Second Bunker team. We saw this school bus not far from the bunker. We thought there might be some survivors in here," one of the scientists said. "Oh, we got lost around here, and since we came from Pernick 13, we don't really know where we were. Plus, this is an unfamiliar area we are in," Daphne answered. "Well, you're all in the northeast zone of Fairview, where the Second Bunker is located," one of the scientists replied. Now the gang and the Hex Girls were confused on who this scientist was. "I pardon for not introducing myself. I'm Dr. Adler, or the Doc as they call me. You must be the Hex Girls, along with Mystery Inc." "That's right. How do you know about us?" Luna asked. "Oh, I've read a lot about you guys, even before the outbreak," Dr. Adler answered. "Our bunker isn't far from here. You could stay there for a while." "Funny enough, we were on our way there," Daphne stated, then opened her bag along with everyone else's to see vials of the serum that had been stolen. "We found a crate of these in one of the alleyways. Someone must have stole them." "They were yours, I assume?" "Why, yes, they are. I have no idea who stole them, but at least you found them all. I understand that people want things to go back to the way they were, but these vials have not yet been tested on anyone outside of the bunker," Adler replied, taking the vials and handing them to the other scientists in the bag. "If you want to know why, come with us to Second Bunker, and I'll explain more there." That sounds like a great idea, since being out in the open with zombies is too dangerous," Shaggy agreed. "Rah, Ranger," Scooby added. When the gang and the Hex Girls followed Adler to Second Bunker, they all headed inside with vials and bags, being carried by the scientists. Adler then took the gang to the science lab, where some people were in separate rooms, with only one door and no windows. "Why are people in these rooms?" Thelma asked, noticing the rooms to be a bit nerve-wracking. "Those are test subjects that I have been taking serum. We are working very hard to find a cure for the virus causing people to mutate into zombies, and so far we have had no luck," Adler replied. "I hope you could keep trying. Don't ever lose hope," Daphne reassured Dr. Adler. "We're not giving up, Daphne. Those words are going to give us more hope to find a cure. Although we are doing what we can now. Seeing that you have not been bitten, there is a chance you may all be immune to the virus," Dr. Adler replied. "I was puked on when it all started, but surprisingly, when some got in my eye, nothing happened, except for the fact that my eye was red for a while. But I didn't turn or anything. No side effects," Luna said. Then Dr. Adler was hit with something like a possibility. "Something's telling me you may be immune to the virus after all," Adler stated with hope in his voice. "Immune to the virus? What do you mean by that?" Fred asked. "It means that since none of you have been turned into zombies, and you haven't all been bitten either. Since Luna had only had some vomit in her eye, she didn't turn from that. So something tells me that you all might be immune, or at least one of you guys might," Dr. Adler answered. This confused the gang. "Is there any way to prove that?" Thorne asked. "We all need to draw some blood from all of you, including the dog too," Adler stated. "Rog? Where?" Scooby asked. "Wikey means you, Scooby," Velma said. "Rah," Scooby said, understanding what Velma meant. "Once we draw a bit of blood from you all, we will have them send in vials to be examined by the scientists here. The process takes about a few hours to a few days at most, but we will let you know when the results come in," Dr. Adler said. Then they had the gang sit on a row of chairs, to which they sat down to wait. Once they all sat down on the chairs, Dr. Adler grabbed a few seats, vials, and needles for drawing blood. He also got some tourniquets for their arms, as he looked at Scooby to see if he could find a vein to draw blood from. But due to his fur, however, Adler had used a shaver for animals and shaved a bit of his fur to find the vein. "Raggy Reedle," Scooby said, shivering due to the fear of being poked by the needle. Scooby had never liked going to the vet and having his blood drawn by the vets, but at least Shaggy and his friends were with him, and he wasn't alone. "Like, it's okay, Scoob. I'm here, buddy." Shaggy comforted Scooby as Scooby looked at Shaggy. He felt the needle poke through his body, and just as he was about to flinch, however, Velma gave Scooby a Scooby snack for him to eat to distract him, so he wouldn't focus so much on the needle. Once Dr. Adler finished drawing Scooby's blood, he took the needle out and away from him. One of the scientists put Scooby's blood from the needle into a vial, then he threw away the dirty needle and set the vial aside for examination. Dr. Adler used some cotton along with a bandage wrap and wrapped where the needle was poked on Scooby's body to prevent any bleeding. Then he used a tourniquet around the arms of Mystery Inc., Lunar, and the Hex Girls. He also drew some blood from them in separate vials and needles as well. After the process was taken care of, Dr. Adler put a cotton swab on the area where the needle was on their arms. "Now that's taken care of, you will be sore for a few days after being poked there," Dr. Adler said. "Will you let us know sometime if we're immune to the virus?" Lunar asked. "Yes, we will let you know about it in a few hours to a few days. Feel free to look around here. One of my friends can show you to your rooms," Dr. Adler answered. "Did you guys say there are no other outposts that you've had any luck contacting you guys? If your radio is not working or something is broken?" Fred asked. "Yes, ever since our radio repairman Lewis died, we haven't had anyone to repair our radio. There was the only way to contact the other outposts," Dr. Adler replied. "Mind if I have a look? I can repair stuff like that in Dog's stockade. Maybe I could help," Lunar offered. "He's the son of Dog," Luna said to Dr. Adler. "He'll be more than happy to fix it." "You sound like the best man I need to repair the radio. I'll show you where it is," Dr. Adler said, leading Lunar down the hall to the office where the radio is. After settling in a Psychonomicon bunker, Dusk, Luna, and Fawn decided to spend some girl time together by meeting the other people in the outposts. While they were doing that, Velma was trying to see if anyone in the outpost may need her help on answering some stuff they didn't even know about. Shaggy and Scooby obviously headed for the food in the cafeteria, knowing how much the two loved to eat a lot. Daphne and Fred were in their bedroom alone. "Daphne, mind if I ask you something?" Fred asked his girlfriend. "Sure, Fred. Is something wrong?" Daphne asked. "No, I'm just kind of worried about Rose," Fred replied, lying to Daphne that there was nothing wrong. But Daphne was smart enough to know that something was bothering him, and she was going to get it out of him, one way or another. "You're lying about nothing being wrong, Freddy. I can tell. What about Rose?" Daphne questioned. "The way she snapped it back at us in Print 13, I feel that she's just lost it. I mean, I'm afraid she's changed since the zombies broke out, and I don't know what she'll do next," Fred sighed, admitting to why something was wrong. He had been thinking about the way Rose Martin snapped back in Print 13, and it bothered him for some reason. "I'm sure she'll come around to this. I hope she does," Daphne said, sitting beside Fred on their bed. "Promise me that you won't change the way Rose did," Fred said, confusing Daphne. "What do you mean, Fred? It's not like I'm going to end up like Rose. I mean, you're confusing me, Freddy," Daphne replied. "I just worry about you, Daph. All the time I worry about you while we're on mysteries. I'm just worrying because I care about you, Daphne. I'm just trying to protect you," Fred said. "I understand you're protecting me, Fred. I do hope that Rose hasn't lost her sanity either. But something is telling me otherwise. I just hope that whatever happens next will pull through," Daphne sighed. She was close to Fred so much that the both would held each other close to each other. During that time, they began to kiss, and eventually, they began to have their love-making session with each other. As Fawn was walking down the halls in the bunker, she then came across a weird door that had a sign on it. As she got closer to the sign, she looked at the sign that read testing room. She walked inside the testing room and saw someone strapped onto a chair. It was Max, the other scientist that the gang had dealt with during the aliens incident back in Scorpion Ridge. He didn't move when the footsteps was heard, and from what Fawn could see, he looked as if he was beaten to death. Foreign then walked away from that room and then continued down the hall, seeing the space-themed room. Upon entering, it was a spaceship simulator room, and it was supposed to make people feel like they were in outer space. Foreign sat down on one of the spaceship chairs, only being startled by someone opening the door. "Who's there?" Foreign called out, only to see it was Shaggy and Scooby, the two goofballs that walked in. "It's just us. What are you doing here?" Shaggy asked. "I was just checking out this space simulation room. Isn't it neat?" Foreign replied. Yes it is. It makes you feel like you're in space," Shaggy said, taking a seat beside Foreign. As Scooby was looking around the room, he eventually found a mini fridge filled with some soda and some small foods, which resemble snacks. "Reggie, rodas and snacks," Scooby said, handing a soda can for Shaggy and Foreign. "Why, thanks, Scoob. See if there's any more stuff to eat," Shaggy instructed. Then the Great Dane headed off to find some food. "How did you find me?" Foreign asked. "I saw you walking into this room, and I just wanted to spend some time with you. I hope that's okay," Shaggy replied, worrying that he might have made her uncomfortable. "Oh no, that's no problem at all. My other friends are working with Lunar and fixing Elder's radio," Foreign said. "I needed some time away from them. Is there something you wanted to ask?" "Well, yeah, there is, but, I'm a nervous wreck on this," Shaggy answered, as Scooby brought some food from the fridge of the space simulator room. "Why are you a nervous wreck, Shaggy? Is something on your mind?" Foreign questioned. "Well, it has been on my mind for quite some time, Sally. But I don't know how I could put this. But have you ever had a boyfriend?" Shaggy replied, asking Foreign a question. "Funny enough, I've never had a boyfriend in my life. I was asked out, but being since in the band and having to do shows and tours was my top priority. Before this world went to hell, every time someone asked me out, I rejected them." Foreign sighed. "It's all because mainly I don't know them, and it's not the fact I don't like them or anything. But how would I know if I could trust them? I mean, I don't want to be with someone who would backstab me when they have the chance." I know how you feel, man, and I understand what you mean," Shaggy replied, sighing as well. "I've been meaning to ask you this for a while. And just so you know, I'm not like those guys that would cheat on anyone or backstabbers." "I know you're not like those other guys I said, Shaggy. Fred isn't like that either from what I can see, but he's perfect for Daphne," Foreign said. "If you want to ask me something, then go ahead and ask. I'm not holding back." "Okay, here it goes. I've been single for quite a while now, and since I found you more attractive than Dusk and Luna, you're the most attractive one. So I was thinking we could perhaps get together, as in we're dating." Shaggy replied, "But that's if you really want to. I understand if you're not ready for it." "No way, really? You think I'm the most attractive one to my friends? And than the ones that you know?" Foreign questioned, surprised that Shaggy would ask her out. Even saying that she's the most attractive, out of all the Hex girls Shaggy likes, he always found Foreign the most attractive one out of all of them. What was so special about her? The black hair with red highlights, her green eyes? Anything was possible, but to Foreign, she really wanted to know why Shaggy found her more attractive. "I'm stunned, Shaggy. What makes you think you find me the most attractive out of my friends?" Foreign asked. "Well, Shaggy trailed off, feeling a bit nervous since he was asking a Gothic woman out. He had nothing against Goths in any way, shape, or form, but given the fact that Foreign was into Gothic themes, he liked her the way she is. "I like you the way you are. Gothic or not, I've always liked you a lot." "Ha, Shaggy, that's very sweet of you. Why me, though? What is so special about me you like?" Foreign replied, unsure of why Shaggy would fall for anyone like her. Because you have Wiccan blood in you for one thing, especially during the events of Sarah Ravencroft witch ghost that we dealt with. You were really badass there, and each time you cast a spell to trap her in that book was so fucking cool," Shaggy answered. "What makes me like you so much is the fact that you're calm and kind most of the time, especially during serious situations. I see you as a beautiful, smart, and strong woman." "Shaggy, I don't know how I feel about this. It's not you, that's for sure." Well, I can be, well, a bitch at times for being stubborn and immature at times. Sometimes I make myself like a complete ass to people. But that isn't my intention at all. I just didn't know you were into me, well, attractively, Thorne said. I just wish that I didn't act immature when meeting you. Part of that was my fault. I still feel kind of guilty when I think about it. No one wanted me as their girlfriend due to me being a gothic chick. I guess there's perverted people that always want what all guys want. You get the rest. But that was when we met. Sure, the immature part of you being stubborn, a bitch and an ass at times is the truth. But whatever happened in the past, we should just move on from it and not think of it as a bad thing. I kind of like the way you scared me with your fake fangs. I was too nervous to tell you that, mainly because I didn't want to make you uncomfortable or awkward, Shaggy stated, as Scooby was drawing a heart indicating that Shaggy was going to hook up with the leader of the Hex Girls. Wow, I guess I'm attractive to you then. My secret is this. I was attracted to you being a goofball, and I didn't mind that personality of you at all. You're cute the way you are, and even though we're both different in our own way, if you want, we can make this work somehow. The band and us being a couple, I'll find a way to do both. After all, I'm the leader of the band, so I can do whatever I decide. Thorne smiled, pulling Shaggy close to her. So, is that a yes? Shaggy asked. Yes, it is a yes, Shaggy. I love you, Thorne replied, kissing Shaggy without saying a word more. As the two broke the kiss, Scooby sighed and smiled at the new couple. Shaggy has finally got together with the leader of the Hex Girls, so Scooby knew that he liked her, so he knew this was going to work one way or another. In the office room, Lunar had finally got the radio working to call out the other outposts all over Fairview. The gang along with Dusk and Luna were there too. Soon Scooby along with Shaggy and Thorne walked in. They could see that Lunar had fixed the radio. The first thing Lunar did was radio Printnik 13 to alert Chief Jackson as to where they were. After he did that, he also radioed the other outposts that Circunonicon Bunker's radio is being fixed. So now that way, they can get updates from the bunker on the medical stuff, and etc. Dr. Adler walked into the room, pleased to see that the radio was working again. I hear the radio is fixed. This is excellent. I know one of you guys can fix it, Adler replied. I fixed the stuff like this before the outbreak, just like my dad, Lunar said. Are the results in yet, Doc? Fred asked. Not yet. We still gotta wait a bit, Dr. Adler answered, when suddenly they heard a loud scream, fainted from down the hall. What the hell was that? Thelma asked, now startled by a scream. It sounds like it came from down the hall, Fred replied. The gang and the Hex Girls ran down the hallway, following the scream as they did so. While running down the hall, they stopped to find a bloody handprint from the window of the door to the left side. They all peeked from the window to see there was a woman who was bleeding from her leg. The gang weren't sure why or how, but they couldn't see any bite mark that would explain why she was screaming about. The door gave away as the woman charged through the door, knocking almost everyone out. She ran out of the room and was heading towards the front entrance of the bunker. The gang and the Hex Girls followed her along with Lunar and Dr. Adler, fearing the worst as to what would happen. The woman continued to scream loudly so much that she was starting to attract and started to act very strangely. She was on all fours gagging as if she were about to throw up. And she did. She began to throw up blood. It was a lot of blood. It was enough to say that she was turning. The gang expected that to be the case, as the woman started to mutate into a powerful zombie. Like, what's happening? Shaggy asked. I fear that she's turning into one of those things. I've seen it before, and it isn't pretty, Dr. Adler replied, answering Shaggy's question. The woman began to have spikes on her legs and arms, followed by some tentacle-like things on her back. She was getting up from mutating. Her eyes were pale as white as a ghost, and her skin was pale as any other zombie. Dusk screamed, along with Luna, at the sight of the new mutated zombie.